He froze in the doorway, his briefcase slipping from his hand and hitting the floor with a dull thud. For a moment, he wondered if his eyes were lying to him, if stress or exhaustion was creating a nightmare where his mother's dignity was being scrubbed away along with the soap suds on the marble tiles. But no, it was real. His mother, 74, her back curved with years of sacrifice, was on her knees, desperately rubbing the floor with trembling hands. And right there, balanced between her fragile shoulders, was his 4-year-old son, giggling as if riding a horse. His wife, elegant and polished as always, leaned against the counter with her arms tightly crossed, watching as if nothing about the scene was wrong. The millionaire, Marcus Hale, felt something crack inside him, something he had never felt before. It wasn't anger, that would have been too small. It was a painful shattering, a deep rupture of trust, love, and identity all at once. His throat tightened. "Mom," he whispered, barely able to speak. His mother startled at the sound of his voice, nearly losing balance as she rushed to take his son off her back. She forced a smile, one of those heartbreaking practice smiles used by people who've spent a lifetime hiding pain. "Marcus, baby, you're home early." But the tremble in her voice betrayed everything. His son ran to him, arms wide, and Marcus lifted him instinctively, but his eyes never left his mother. He could see details now that made his stomach twist, knees reddened from pressure, sweat dripping onto the tiles, her old skirt damp with soapy water. And then he noticed the bucket, half empty and filled with gray suds. Had she been doing this for minutes? Hours? Days? He turned slowly toward his wife. "Emily, what is this?" Emily didn't flinch. "Your mother insisted," she said casually. "She said she wanted to help around the house. I didn't stop her." His mother's eyes dropped to the ground. That single gesture told Marcus everything. He knelt beside her, lowering his voice. "Mom, look at me. Did she ask you to do this?" Silence. A heavy, suffocating silence. Emily's heels clicked against the floor as she stepped forward. "You're blowing this out of proportion. She's not helpless, Marcus. She just needs something to do." Something inside him tightened. His mother, who had worked 3 jobs so he could have an education. His mother, who skipped meals so he could eat. His mother, who celebrated every milestone with genuine pride. She would never kneel by choice. "Mom," he whispered again, gentler this time, "why didn't you tell me?" Her lips parted, then closed. Her hands shook. And that's when he noticed something else, something small, but unmistakable. A faint bruise on her wrist. Air left his lungs. His wife stiffened, as if she realized he had seen it. "Emily," he said, voice low, trembling, "what happened to her wrist?" Emily blinked once. Too slowly. "Marcus, you don't need to know everything." His heart dropped. And in that instant, he realized this wasn't just about chores. Something deeper was happening. Something his mother had been too afraid to say. Marcus felt a truth rising in his chest, one that could destroy his marriage. But before he could speak, his mother whispered something that made his blood run cold. Before we dive deeper into this story, hit the like button and subscribe now. Here you'll find life-changing stories that will keep you inspired every single time. His mother's voice was barely audible, a fragile thread against the heavy quiet of the room. "Marcus, I didn't want you to see me like this," her words faltered, and then she swallowed, as if swallowing pain itself. She asked me to keep busy. She said, "I'm a burden if I don't." Marcus's chest tightened. He had faced boardroom betrayals, hostile business rivals, and ruthless negotiations, but nothing had ever prepared him for this. The cruelty wasn't loud, wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, calculated, hidden behind the polite smiles and gleaming jewelry. It was in the way Emily had watched, arms crossed, as his mother labored on the floor. It was in the way she had spoken, implying his mother's worth was measured in her ability to scrub marble tiles and serve tea. He stepped closer, hands trembling slightly, kneeling beside her. "Mom, this isn't your fault. You don't have to do this. Ever." Her eyes brimmed with tears, but she shook her head. "I didn't want to cause trouble. She trailed off, staring at the floor. "I just wanted to help." Marcus felt a surge of anger, but it wasn't aimed at her. It was aimed at the subtle cruelty that had crept into his home. He turned toward Emily, trying to keep his voice calm but firm. "Emily, look at me. This stops today. Emily's lips pressed into a thin line. Marcus. I was just… No, he interrupted, his voice growing firmer. This isn't just about chores. This is about respect. About love. About decency. My mother raised me. She gave everything. And you're treating her like she doesn't matter. The room was silent except for the soft patter of his son's small feet as he played quietly in the corner, unaware of the tension. Marcus's gaze returned to his mother, and he saw the exhaustion, the silent resignation, and something else, something he hadn't noticed before. The pride in her eyes that she had survived all of it, that she had given him a life of opportunities he never took for granted. He swallowed hard. Mom, you don't have to hide. You don't have to apologize for being yourself. She looked up at him, and for the first time, the weight in her shoulders seemed to lift slightly. I just didn't want to make waves, she whispered. Marcus shook his head. Mom, love doesn't make waves, it protects. And I promise you, I won't let anyone make you feel small again. Not here, not ever. Emily's eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, Marcus's mother took a trembling hand and reached for his. Marcus, thank you. He held her hand tightly, the warmth of her skin grounding him, reminding him of everything he had learned from her, resilience, kindness, the ability to endure. No, he said firmly, thank you for everything. You've given me a life I could never repay, but I'll spend every day trying to make sure you're honored, respected, and loved the way you deserve. Emily's composure wavered, and she looked away. Marcus didn't need to see her face to know she realized the truth. The quiet control, the subtle manipulation, had failed. And then his mother did something unexpected. She stood up, slowly at first, then with a quiet determination, and took the bucket. She moved toward the door. Marcus followed. Where are you going? He asked. She smiled faintly. Some things I don't need to do for anyone but myself. But just as she reached the door, Emily blocked her path, and the air in the room crackled with tension. Marcus knew a confrontation was about to ignite, one that could change everything. Emily's eyes flashed, a storm barely contained, as she stepped directly in front of Marcus's mother. I don't think you understand, she said, voice tight. This is my house too. You can't just… Her words faltered under Marcus's steady gaze. Marcus moved instinctively, placing himself between his mother and his wife. Emily, he said, low and unwavering, this isn't up for debate. Mom deserves respect. Full stop. For a moment, the room was thick with silence. His mother clutched the edge of the bucket, knuckles white, her frail figure seeming even smaller against Emily's poised stance. And then she did something Marcus hadn't expected. She lifted her chin and spoke, her voice quiet but firm. I'm not leaving until I've been treated like a human being, Emily. I've given my whole life to this family. That's all I ask. Emily's lips pressed together, her composure slipping. Marcus felt the tension spike in his chest, a familiar adrenaline that reminded him of negotiations and high-stakes deals. But this was different. This wasn't about money or business. This was about dignity, about love, about justice in its simplest, rawest form. Marcus took a deep breath, letting his voice calm the rising storm. Mom, you don't have to fight alone. We're in this together. You've carried me through every challenge. Now let me carry you, even if it's just standing here beside you. His mother's eyes glistened, a mix of surprise and relief, and she nodded slightly. Emily's face hardened, but Marcus could see the cracks forming. She was realizing that her subtle control, the quiet power she thought she wielded, was slipping. And then, unexpectedly, his son toddled over, holding a small stuffed bear. Grandma, he said softly, come play with me. The room shifted. The innocence in his son's voice acted as a mirror, reflecting everything that had been lost in the tension, everything that had been ignored. Marcus's mother knelt down finally, but this time it wasn't to scrub the floor, it was to embrace her grandson, lifting him gently, laughing despite the tears in her eyes. Marcus felt a swell of pride and relief. This small moment, this pure connection, reminded him why he had fought so hard to give his family a better life. He realized that dignity, respect, and love weren't things you could demand. They were things you nurtured, protected, and fiercely defended when necessary. Emily's shoulders stiffened. Marcus. No, Emily, he interrupted softly but firmly. You need to see what respect looks like. And you need to understand that manipulation, even subtle, will never win in this house. Emily swallowed, and for a moment, it seemed like she might protest. But then Marcus's mother, holding her grandson, looked directly at her. "It's not too late to be better," she said. The words were calm, but their weight was undeniable. "We all deserve kindness. Even you, if you're willing to learn it." Emily's eyes dropped, and she took a step back. The tension didn't vanish entirely, but the first crack had formed. Marcus's heart pounded, not from fear this time, but from the raw, incredible power of truth, honesty, and the courage to confront it. He put a hand on his mother's shoulder. "We'll fix this," he said, voice steady. "We'll make sure this house feels like home for everyone, in the right way. No one gets left behind." But even as the weight lifted slightly, a new realization struck him, one that made his chest tighten again. Emily's actions weren't just about the moment. They were part of a pattern, a challenge that would require patience, strategy, and heart to overcome. Marcus knew that confronting the past was only the beginning, and when a mysterious letter arrived the next morning, it would reveal secrets about Emily that he could never have anticipated. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the grand windows of the Hale residence, but it did little to ease the tension that lingered from the day before. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, his mother beside him, cradling a cup of tea as if it were a shield against the world. His son, still wearing the pajamas he insisted on sleeping in all day, played quietly with blocks on the floor, oblivious to the storm that had passed. A soft knock at the door made Marcus glance up, his heart skipping a beat. The envelope on the mat was unmarked, elegant, and slightly intimidating, cream-colored with sharp edges, heavy in his hand. No sender. No note. Just a weight that seemed to promise revelation. "Marcus, what is it?" his mother asked, her voice careful, almost whispering. He didn't answer immediately. The moment felt delicate, almost sacred. Slowly, he slit the envelope open and drew out a folded piece of paper, its handwriting unfamiliar yet undeniably precise. As he unfolded it, the words leapt off the page, chilling him. "Emily has been hiding more than you know. There's a reason she's controlling, why she resists letting your mother have dignity. You need to act before it's too late." Marcus's pulse quickened. The letter wasn't accusatory, it was a warning. But the fear behind the words, the implication of secrets and schemes, slammed into him like a physical blow. He glanced at Emily, who was nowhere in sight, the house eerily quiet. "Mom, I need you to stay calm," he said, voice low. He folded the letter carefully, almost afraid to touch the fragile truth it contained. "There's more to this than we realized. More than just chores and silent cruelty." She reached for his hand, trembling. "Marcus. I trusted her. I wanted to believe she loved you, loved your family. But," her voice broke and she paused, blinking back tears. "But I feared something like this might happen." Marcus felt a mix of dread and determination. Every part of him knew that the battle for respect had only begun. Emily's control, subtle and manipulative, had always been masked by charm, elegance, and an uncanny ability to make people doubt themselves. But now with the letter, the truth was undeniable. She had a plan, one that could harm his family emotionally, maybe even irreversibly. He folded the paper again, tucking it into his jacket pocket, and stood. "Mom, we're going to handle this. Together. But we have to be smart. We can't rush blindly. She's clever. We need patience, observation, and strategy. And we're not alone." He glanced toward the hallway, where sunlight glinted against the polished wooden floors. He imagined Emily walking those corridors, her presence imposing but fragile when confronted by truth. Marcus realized that for the first time, the house felt like more than walls and furniture. It felt like a battlefield for love, respect, and justice. His son toddled over, placing a small block in his father's hand. Marcus smiled faintly, kneeling to look him in the eyes. "Don't worry, little man," he whispered. "We're going to make sure everyone in this house is treated with kindness, starting today." The weight in his chest remained, but so did a strange, flickering hope. He had seen his mother's strength yesterday, witnessed the spark of courage that had defied Emily's silent tyranny. That spark could grow, ignite, and change everything. Just as Marcus turned to plan his next move, the front doorbell rang, unexpectedly, and when he opened it, he found a visitor holding a secret that would challenge everything he thought he knew about Emily. Marcus's heart thumped violently as he approached the front door. The visitor stood there, tall, composed, and dressed in a sharply tailored suit. His eyes were calm but carried a weight of knowledge that immediately set Marcus on edge. He hadn't seen this man before, yet something about him screamed importance, urgency, and truth. "Mr. Hale," the man began, his voice deep and measured, "I need a few minutes of your time. It's about Emily." Marcus's mother appeared behind him, hand resting lightly on his shoulder. "Marcus, do you know him?" she asked softly. "No, but I'm about to," Marcus replied, his voice firm. He motioned for the man to come inside. Once inside, the man wasted no time. "I work for an organization that helps families uncover financial and personal misconduct in high-profile households. Your wife has been manipulating several aspects of your personal and financial life, and I have records, documents, and proof that could be crucial." Marcus felt a knot in his stomach. He had suspected control and subtle cruelty, but this was beyond what he could have imagined. "Show me," he demanded, trying to steady his trembling hands. The man handed over a neatly organized folder, thick with pages, contracts, bank statements, emails, and private messages. Marcus scanned them quickly, his pulse racing. He saw patterns, transactions, even deliberate misinformation designed to undermine his mother's influence in the household. Emily had been constructing an invisible cage around the family, disguised as elegance, charm, and apparent care. His mother's eyes widened as she leaned closer. "Marcus, I knew something wasn't right. I could feel it. But I never imagined this." Her voice shook, a mix of fear and relief. "Thank you for protecting me, for seeing the truth." Marcus swallowed hard. "Mom, she's tried to control everything, but we're not going to let that happen. Not anymore." The visitor nodded solemnly. "You need to act carefully. She will resist, and she's skilled at persuasion. But the proof is here. Transparency will protect your family, and ensure she cannot manipulate anyone again." Marcus felt a surge of anger, but it was tempered by clarity. Emily's subtle manipulations had pushed boundaries, undermined trust, and inflicted emotional pain. But now the veil was lifted. He saw her not as a polished, untouchable figure, but as someone who could be confronted with truth. Someone who could be challenged. He glanced at his mother, and then at his son, playing quietly in the corner, unaware of the tension surrounding him. Marcus knew that whatever happened next, he needed to act decisively, not for vengeance, but for justice, dignity, and love. "I need to confront her," Marcus said firmly. "I need to protect my family and ensure this doesn't happen again." The visitor nodded. "I'll stay nearby, in case you need guidance or support. But this confrontation, it will be yours to lead. Truth and honesty are your strongest allies." Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The path ahead would not be easy. Emily's resistance, charm, and control were formidable, but he had something stronger now: clarity, evidence, and a renewed commitment to honor the people who had sacrificed everything for him. He turned to his mother, who gave him a small, encouraging smile. "We'll face it together," she whispered. Marcus nodded, determination hardening in his chest. "Together," he repeated. As the sound of Emily's heels echoed down the hallway, approaching the living room, Marcus realized that the confrontation he had been preparing for all along was about to begin, and it would reveal secrets even deeper than the documents in his hands. The echo of Emily's heels on the marble floor made Marcus's chest tighten. Every step was deliberate, calculated, as if she had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. He stood, shoulders squared, heart steadying, while his mother remained close, a silent pillar of strength beside him. His son, oblivious to the tension, clutched his favorite stuffed bear and hummed a tune. Emily entered the room, her polished exterior unshaken, but Marcus could see something subtle, an almost imperceptible flicker in her eyes, a hesitation that betrayed uncertainty. "Marcus." "Mom," she began, voice smooth, attempting control as usual. "I thought we could start the day calmly." Marcus didn't respond immediately. Instead, he took a step forward, sliding the folder across the table so it landed with a soft thump in front of her. The sound seemed louder than it was, echoing like a starting gun. Emily's eyes followed it, her fingers curling instinctively over her elegant purse. "What's this?" she asked, voice carefully neutral. Marcus opened his mouth, but didn't speak. He let the folder do the talking. He gestured for his mother to sit at the table. "Look," he said, voice calm but firm. "Everything you've been hiding, every subtle manipulation, Every effort to control the household is documented here. I want honesty, Emily. Not excuses. Not charm. Honesty. Emily blinked, and for the first time, Marcus saw genuine vulnerability. The polished facade, the arrogance, it faltered. She stepped back slightly, hands clasped nervously. Marcus. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, he interrupted gently. I understand that my mother deserves respect. That my family deserves honesty. That my son deserves a home where love isn't conditional on manipulation or control. Emily's composure wavered. Marcus's mother cleared her throat softly. Emily, it's not too late, she said, voice steady despite trembling hands. You can choose kindness. You can choose to respect the people who love you, and who have loved Marcus from the start. The room was heavy with silence. Emily's gaze shifted from Marcus to his mother, then to the folder, and finally rested on Marcus's eyes. And then a small, almost imperceptible nod. The tension cracked. I didn't realize, Emily started, voice faltering. I thought I was helping. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Marcus's chest loosened slightly. Intentions aren't enough, Emily. Actions matter. How you make others feel, especially those who've given their lives for this family, matters. Emily's shoulders slumped. The fight was gone. For the first time, Marcus saw her not as an adversary, but as someone capable of change. I want to try, she said softly. Marcus nodded. Then we start now. Transparency, honesty, and respect. We rebuild what has been shaken. He glanced at his mother, who smiled gently, pride shining through her tired eyes. His son toddled closer, holding the bear up to Emily. Play, he asked simply, bridging the invisible tension with a child's trust. Emily's eyes softened, tears threatening. She knelt, taking his tiny hands in hers. Yes, let's play, she whispered. Marcus realized that healing wasn't about punishment. It was about courage, accountability, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths. It was about giving space for growth, for apologies, and for love to flourish again. Just as a fragile peace seemed to settle, Marcus received a text on his phone, a message from an unknown number, that threatened to expose a secret from Emily's past, one that could either destroy their fragile truce or cement a new beginning. Marcus took a deep breath, the folder now set aside, and looked around the room. The tension that had gripped the house all morning seemed to melt slightly, replaced by a fragile sense of possibility. His mother's eyes glistened, holding that quiet pride of someone who had endured a lifetime of challenges and survived. Even his young son, blissfully unaware of the adult conflicts, tugged at Emily's hand, coaxing her into laughter. But just as the warmth began to settle in, Marcus noticed something unusual, a framed photograph leaning against the wall where it didn't belong. It was an old picture of his mother, younger, radiant, standing in front of a small community center. Marcus didn't remember seeing it before. The photograph seemed to hum with a story, a part of his mother's life he'd never truly known. Curious, he picked it up. His mother's hands hovered near him, hesitant. That was a long time ago, she said softly. I used to run a shelter for children after school. But life, responsibilities. I had to leave it behind. Marcus's heart clenched. Mom, you never told me about this. All those years of sacrifice, and there was this incredible part of you that I never knew. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hid sorrow and pride all at once. I wanted to, but I was always too busy keeping everything together. You, this family. Making sure you had everything I didn't. Something shifted in Marcus then. The confrontation with Emily, the challenges, the manipulation. They all paled in comparison to the realization that his mother had a life, dreams, and a heart that had quietly saved countless others without ever asking for recognition. He felt a surge of emotion, gratitude, awe, and a touch of regret that he had never noticed the full depth of her life. Mom, we need to bring this back. We need to honor this. You built something beautiful, and it shouldn't be forgotten. His mother blinked, startled. Marcus, it's just a small thing from the past. No, he said firmly, holding her gaze. It's everything. You've always taught me that strength is quiet, and love doesn't seek applause. But this deserves to be seen. Let's bring it back. Together. Emily, watching quietly, stepped forward. Marcus. I can help. I want to help. I see now the courage in your mother, and I want to be part of supporting it, not controlling it." A warmth spread through the room as the family, together, shared a quiet understanding. Marcus realized that the real battles weren't against people, they were against silence, neglect, and the fear of revealing oneself. His mother's courage had outshone manipulation, his family's love had broken the chains of pride and control, and the future felt wide open. And just as they all shared a smile, his son ran toward the photograph, pointing excitedly. "Mommy, Grandpa's house. Can we help kids too?" Marcus's heart swelled, and a quiet laughter filled the room, a sound heavier with hope than it had ever been. But as Marcus set the photograph down to plan their next steps, the doorbell rang, and when he opened it, he found a group of children, holding handmade cards and letters, waiting to meet the woman who had changed their lives decades ago. Marcus opened the door, and a small crowd of children stood there, shyly holding handmade cards and drawings. Their smiles were hesitant but genuine, filled with hope and gratitude. He looked back at his mother, whose eyes widened in disbelief and joy. These were the children she had once helped at the community center decades ago. Some she had never seen again, some she had lost touch with, but their memories of her kindness had never faded. One little girl stepped forward, holding a card decorated with colorful hearts. Mrs. Hale, thank you for helping us when we needed you. We never forgot." Her voice trembled slightly, but Marcus's mother caught the sincerity in it immediately. Tears filled her eyes, and for the first time in years, she felt the weight of unrecognized love lift from her shoulders. Marcus stood beside her, watching as the room filled with laughter, greetings, and stories. Emily quietly knelt to meet the children at eye level, offering gentle words of encouragement. The tension that had once seemed insurmountable in the house faded entirely. In its place, there was a shared sense of purpose, connection, and the simple, unshakable truth that kindness leaves a mark far deeper than control ever could. His mother took a deep breath, looking around at Marcus, Emily, and the children. I didn't think any of this would still matter," she whispered. "I thought my sacrifices were invisible, that all I did was forgotten." Marcus shook his head firmly. "Mom, it wasn't invisible. It shaped me. It shaped this family. And look, these kids are proof of the lives you've touched. The world is better because of you." A boy ran up and hugged her knees. "You believed in us when no one else did. You made us brave," he said. Marcus felt a lump in his throat, realizing that the confrontation with Emily, the struggles, and the tension in their family had led to this moment. Not to punishment, not to revenge, but to recognition, healing, and love that could finally be shared freely. Emily watched silently, tears glistening, and then spoke softly. "I see now, the real strength isn't in control. It's in love, honesty, and giving people space to be who they are. Thank you for letting me witness that." Marcus nodded. "We all learn. We all grow. And we all get chances to do better." His mother took his hand and then Emily's, and together they faced the children, smiling. Marcus's son tugged at his mother's hand, eager to show her his own little drawings. The room was alive with joy, laughter, and the kind of love that had been buried under misunderstandings and pride, but now bloomed brilliantly. As Marcus looked around, he realized that the greatest battles aren't fought in anger or confrontation. They are fought in courage, patience, and the willingness to forgive and rebuild. His mother's legacy, Emily's growth, and the innocence of his son had converged to create something far stronger than anything he had imagined. A home filled with respect, love, and the kind of hope that lasts a lifetime. He lifted his son into his arms, glancing at Emily and his mother. This is what family is," he said quietly. His mother smiled, eyes glistening. "And it's only just beginning." Outside the window, the sun broke through the clouds, bathing the house in golden light, reminding Marcus that even after storms, life has a way of returning with warmth, hope, and the promise of brighter days ahead. Please, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like and share it. Here's another story waiting for you. I'm sure it will change the way you see the world. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.